Some days the news is all good or all bad, but of course with us it's often a mixed bag, and so are we. I am here with the other half of my mixed bag, Mark from the Tesla Life podcast. We're going to be going over some stories about Honda, stories about Panasonic, stories about Rivian. They're all going to be here, and so many more. Okay, maybe one more. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Mark, you're back. What happened? I thought back. I drove you away forever since...
Well, you might have, but I had to come back because I left my car keys. So.
Car keys. What are those? Different times. Yeah. It's a big square phone. You just jam it. I don't know how it works, but yeah, the first time I was in a car with push to start, I got in. I was like, what do I do next? I don't know. Because it was a rental and I'd never seen one before. Well, you know, on our last show, we talked about some of the genius that is Stellantis' approach to build just everything possible in one factory on one line. What could possibly go right? Well, guess who's at it? Honda will build gas hybrid NEVs on the same production line in Ohio.
Another group that just does not get it.
They will retain the ability to build multiple powertrains. I don't think they will attain the ability, but okay.
Didn't Honda have a deal with GM to help them with batteries and electric cars? Didn't they have an actual model that was using the Ultium battery system?
I know they've got an Acura that came out, but I don't know if it is on Ultium or not. But it's, you know, when you're looking for a leader, definitely look to the people who at the time were making two cars and one of them was discontinued. But the factories won't be restricted to building EVs. We'll have the ability to build gas, hybrid, electric, all on the same assembly line. What's wrong with steam? Couldn't you do that? First,
I have to say, Brian, that it's a wonderful idea in principle, written on a press release. Mm-hmm. But as you've said previously, for the Stellantis deal, that really means that you've dumbed it down to the most common denominator, and all the vehicles suffer.
Right. You know what would be great is if instead of focusing on one thing, if we focused on everything. Guys, that's not focusing. That's the opposite. Do you remember on Seinfeld when he convinced the restaurateur to become an every food of the world restaurant and no one would come in because it was a terrible idea? Well, Honda saw that episode and thought it was more of a documentary than a comedy. So just great. At least they're going to build something. Honda did not appear at the Electrify Everything Expo in Vancouver this year, which makes sense. What would they have shown? A picture?
Yeah, they're not electrifying anything, so no point in showing up there.
No, Toyota came out and brought their one EV and two hybrids. I'm trying to remember who it was. Mitsubishi or somebody came out with just their hybrid, just one hybrid. Poor guy was so lonely. I made the mistake of saying hello, and he was like, "Please talk to me." He felt, and he was like, "Yeah, you want to? Hey, do you want to schedule a test drive?" No,
sure.
No, I don't. But thank you. It was all kitted out for, it was like the Outlander, I think. But it was, you know, hey man.
I thought you were going to tell me the iMEV 1.5 made its debut.
I mean, at least that I would understand. I know Jay from the Seattle Electric Vehicle Association, who owns a good percentage of all the iMEVs that are in the country. Like, he probably has 5 of them, maybe 10 of them. I don't know, but he is the iMEV guy. And he owns the one that belonged to the last surviving cast member of It's a Wonderful Life. The little girl. She only passed recently, a few years ago. So that's, I guess, a thing. So very exciting. Well, this is interesting news. America's safest pickup truck is a 7,000-pound EV. Rivian scored very high. At present, only one pickup truck holds a top safety pick, the Rivian R1T, by a generous gap. So does this surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me because, of course, larger vehicles typically are safer because there's more crush zones. There's more the weight is with you compared to other vehicles. If you hit somebody else, the vehicle that's more weighty typically wins the battle.
But this outscores other trucks. It outscores the Toyota Tundra, Toyota Tacoma, Hyundai's Santa Cruz. But it's because it's an EV.
The crush zones are larger.
Right.
Because, of course, there's no internal combustion engine sitting up front waiting to press against the firewall in your legs.
Right.
That's not there.
And your center of gravity is low. And your ability to fail on side intrusion when you've got a battery pack that's large and rigid is diminished. It surprises me not at all. As the rest of the electric trucks are tested, I assume they will also score similarly well. And I think a company like Rivian, like Lucid, is out there with something to prove. And I feel like all those companies try desperately to score very well on their first outing, because if you don't, you may not get a second one. Would you agree?
Yeah. You don't get the chance to swing at bat again in many cases. So you've got to make your first one stick.
That is true. So because we love to get off topic, I will mention 3-time All-Star amazing pitcher, Jamie Moyer, who was with a bunch of teams, including the Mariners. Do you ever hear about him? He retired with an earned run average of like 3.8, a pretty darn good ERA. What do you think his fastball clocked in at? And I'll give you a hint. It's not very fast.
Brian, I'm Canadian.
Oh,
I just look at hockey.
That's right. Well, a good fastball is 95 to 100. The highest recorded ever, I think, is 106 in a game. His fastball was at 81.8 miles an hour. It was real slow, but he was a good pitcher because it was all about the strategy. So that is your lesson for the day, folks. In the comments, who's your favorite all-star pitcher? Great. We got to keep it going. And for Mark's fans, who is the second greatest hockey player of all time?
Second greatest. Great question.
Right.
Great question.
Right. We're not going to waste our time on Gretzky. We already know that answer. That's like, why would we take all that extra time? So this is some good news. Panasonic Energy prepares for 4680 battery production in Asia. Have you heard about this?
No, but Panasonic's been working on 4680 for some time. So this is good news.
This is good news. And you're right, they have worked on it. After the 4680 was announced, about a year later, I was looking to see who's working on it. And the answer at the time was almost everyone. I think only of the big players, only SK Innovations was not looking at it at the time, but might be wrong on that one. But you could put in 4680, LG, BYD, everybody, and you could see that they were all working on it, but none of them have released them yet. And my question for the Tesla employee who used to work at the Cato Road facility was, is there something particularly vexing about that form factor that's made all of, and I'm not asking about Tesla, all of your competitors not be able to bring one to market yet? And her answer was, I can't tell you because that would answer the question for Tesla too. I was like, well, that doesn't help. And then she said, but you should ask Jordan Giesecke because I just know he's got a source inside the battery works. And I told Jordan that. He was very flattered, but he does not have a source. He just reads the white papers. So at any rate, they're going to be making some of these in Japan. I don't know who they're for, because importing them from Japan, I don't think that would count as a trade compliant partner in terms of U.S. IRA credits. But it's possible it could be. It could be that they're a sufficiently friendly nation that they get that preferential treatment. But hey, man, more batteries. We need them. Good enough, right? Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, anybody that can produce a 4680 that is competent, that works really well, they've got a market for it. Like there's Tesla will buy anything they can make as long as it's up to their specs. They will fill any car they can with it because they cannot get enough of them.
Yes. And as a reminder, Tesla has used cells from BYD, LG, Panasonic, and CATL, right? Have they used CATL? They've used just about everyone's batteries. not Samsung and not SK Innovations, but I think everyone else's. I work on Tesla's Autopilot team. I watch hours of customer driving videos every day, and I am monitored constantly. What do you make of this?
Is this his complaint article that he's monitored constantly? Is this a problem that someone doesn't like their job?
It's what it sounds like. So Tesla Autopilot team in Buffalo reviews footage to train its driver assist software. Workers label everything from road lines to traffic cones. One Autopilot worker described what it's like to work on the team. So one doesn't work for me. I need more than one because that falls under my umbrella of single source rumor. I will not publish those. But this is bin cider that we're not drinking but criticizing. I started in 22. I don't have any automotive or manufacturing experience. Do you think a labeler needs those things?
You think they need something?
I think what they need is to be human. And no, because that's the only thing the machine can't do is be human. I think they need the ability to recognize lines and cones. So if this person has been on a road before, I think they're qualified.
Have you seen some of the drivers out there, Brian?
I didn't say that they drove. I said they'd been on one. You could be a passenger and know what cones are. You could use VLC media player and know what a traffic cone is. My job is to help train Tesla's vehicles to drive themselves. A Tesla has 9 cameras that collect the data. Okay, so we're counting the cabin camera. That's
interesting.
I spend hours going over videos that were taken. We label every little thing. Now, I don't know how much labeling they still do. So you can't access images outside of your allocated team folder. Tesla put watermarks on some of the images so you could easily tell where it came from. Or so if it was redistributed, they'd know whose terminal captured it. And anytime we're making key clicks, Tesla knows what we're doing. There are cameras basically everywhere we work, so the only place you can get privacy is in the bathroom. You know, some people work at Home Depot or Walmart. They also have cameras everywhere. We review 5.5 to 6 hours of footage. It could be very hard to focus. Yeah. Tesla gives us breaks, okay. But then there's flight time. It tracks keystrokes and how long we're working on the images. If we go too slow, we get in trouble. And they've got another one. Why didn't you make any changes to the program for 15 minutes? You could get fired for spending too long in the bathroom. So the problem they're complaining about is that, what do you call those programs? Activity,
monitors.
Yeah, just monitors, really. There are people who work from home deal with that too, a lot of times. If you work at a job where productivity is measured, it's going to be measured. If you work in a warehouse, if you're a cashier, when I was a waiter in college in the 90s, they could pull up and see what everyone's app ratio was. Appetizers to meals. And if you were not selling enough appetizers, they would pull you aside and go, "Hey man, can you push the mozzarella sticks?" Same with the wines. In 94, 93, 90, 94, we had a 3-month wine contest and I won. I sold more wine per guest than anyone else. And I was 20. But you know what I won? A trip to the winery, which I was not allowed to go because I was not 21. So instead I got cannelloni for dinner for selling hundreds and hundreds of dollars of bottles of wine. So I think the overriding message here is Brian gets tired on these recording days and I get off topic a little bit. So I think that's the message.
Let's face it, Brian, some people don't like the jobs they're in. Like that's if you've got a productivity job that needs to track keystrokes, maybe that's not the job for you.
Yeah.
We've all had jobs that we haven't liked.
Yeah.
And have had to move on or look for something else because we're not enjoying that particular job. And there are people that are not cut out for this type of work. That's absolutely true.
Absolutely. I would go crazy in that job, but there are a lot of jobs I couldn't do. I couldn't do pediatric intensive care. And I know that sounds like a joke, but when my son Dominic was born, he was in intensive care for the first week, and just the whole plate, it was just heartbreaking. And I even asked the doctor, how can you do this? And he said that some of us feel very rewarded doing this work. And I was like, well, you can keep it, which is great because they weren't hiring non-doctors for the job. So I wasn't even qualified. There are different jobs for different people. I've known people who work jobs that I would find painful, either too monotonous or too stressful or too anything. So yeah, if it's not for you, don't do it. But what you should definitely do is go to Business Insider and whine about it, because that will make your life more complete. I don't think I missed that, right? Is that right? I think that's right.
That's the moral of the story. Right there.
Yeah. So, guys, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Let me look at the calendar here and see if I need to plug anything. I know next week on the 21st is going to be Cyberfest. I can pull that up if I can find it here. That's going to be just in a matter of, everything is in a matter of days if you count enough of them, but this is September 21st. We are going to have some amazing guests there. I'm trying to get Mr. Casey Green to commit. I think he's interested. I don't know if he's definitely coming or not. Casey Green from the Tesla Life Show, where you will also find Mark. Link in the description. Go check it out. Dr. Know-It-All is going to be there. We're going to have Tesla Tino and Bearded Tesla Guy. And there is a possibility we will have someone from Tesla corporate who would be able to join them on a panel, but that has not been confirmed yet. It's going to be a great show. Live music, food trucks. Get out on the mud course. If you don't have a Cybertruck, that's fine. You can hop in someone else's and go on the mud course too. It's not a everything kind of playground crisscross. Everyone's going to bonk into each other. It's a specific course. A lot of fun. And of course I will be there, because when people invite me, I am incapable of declining. So that is probably something I need to work on a personal level. And then when they say, do you want to help put the speakers together? I say, I will do the whole thing. So I got to work on that.
You got to work on that.
You guys in the comments, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? What is the good news? Could you be a labeler? And who's your second favorite hockey player of all time? Thank you, Mark, so much for joining me on this wonderful chat on this fine afternoon. And everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual. Stay tuned and juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots in Ocala, Florida, perhaps.